Today's episode of FSI the Podcast is brought to you by Passages. More families are looking for funeral options that feel personal, meaningful, and gentler on the planet. At Passages International, they help funeral professionals meet that need with beautifully designed biodegradable urns, scattering tubes, fair trade certified woven caskets, and other sustainable memorial products. Since 1999, Passages has partnered with funeral homes worldwide to offer greener, more thoughtful choices for today's family. To learn more, visit passagesinternational.com. You can also find this link in the show notes. Welcome to Funeral Service Insider, the podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Lades, and today I'm excited to have joining me Melissa Jo Schmidt, aka the Funeral Babe, and she is going to shed some light on her new venture with Impart. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you because I've noticed, well, obviously I know I'm familiar with your content like most people. I think that it's very creatively done, but it's also very like realistic and accurate, which I appreciate. And I wanted to ask you how many hours a week, because I'm sure it takes more time than I might assume. How many hours a week would you say you spend like editing and tweaking your social content?
Honestly, not that much. You'd be really surprised. I feel like people would be really surprised. I usually never have too much what I call in the vat, ready to go. I don't make content. I don't block out days to make content. It's really just kind of like I flow with things. If I do a day in the life, those are some of like the more edited. They're usually not planned because, as you know, in funeral service, you just don't know what the day is going to bring. And I have to have kind of a slow day, as I say, to do it because I have to film it all. And if I'm busy, you can't. So even those, I just like it's a slower day usually. So I edit as I'm creating. I really don't spend. I wish I spent more time. If I had it, I would. But
Well, it looks like you do. So either way, like don't apologize for refining your skills. I would be struggling to be honest. So, but no, it's really impressive and I like the fact that even in the more, I'm not going to say mundane, but the more just naturally occurring things within the funeral home, and Eileen does a good job with this too, just capturing those little nuggets of the behind the scenes and what really goes on, and like you vacuuming and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's not all, Morticia Adams running around like who cool, like neat stuff like that. It's taking out trash, it's vacuuming, it's doing, you wear so many hats, right?
all the
So
hats.
yeah, and I like that you capture that. I'm not sure if a lot of the newer people coming into the field recognize that it's like what it truly is. And I feel like in some of your content, you're able to display that. And I appreciate that. As an educator and as a practitioner, I appreciate that. So
That's really sweet. Thank you.
thank you. So tell me about Impart. I know that it just recently was launched. The website and all that looks really good. And I will let you introduce what Impart is and talk a bit about it.
Okay, Impart is incredible. It's amazing. It was a whole journey coming together, but it's built for small businesses. It's a platform that's meant to teach you to staff, grow, scale, exit, create a community of directors and a community it's like a resource hub. There is AI within it, which is really interesting. Um, but it's supposed to really be that there's so many different aspects that I look at it. One of them being the gap between schooling and employment. I think the education focuses on a lot of the problems the industry sees and talks about. And actually going through it and creating it really opened my eyes to a lot of the industry problems and things that could resolve a lot of the stuff we talk about.
Okay. Give me an example of one of the industry problems that's kind of tackled a bit through Impart.
For personally, one thing that I think is big is the gap from schooling into the funeral home itself. There is definitely, as we just said, vacuuming and doing different aspects of the job, actually not working a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 when you're actually in it. And then just the onboarding process itself. Myself personally, like, you get thrown in and you got to learn how to do it. This is kind of teaching all the things that you would learn in that gap. Like I always say, like when I came out of school, it probably took me a good couple of years before I was very confident in my abilities, very confident in arrangement room per se. It took a long time. And these are skills that it teaches skills that will help you build that in the arrangement room, how to help de-escalate issues, how to properly handle things, keeping your morals, your ethics, your values as a very high point, like things that mentorship in a sense.
Okay. And you're spot on as far as when you're in school, you're learning theory and you're kind of practicing, but it's not until you actually get out in the field. And then oftentimes without these types of resources, you're just trying to shadow whoever happens to work there. And you're learning however they do things, which may or may not be good. And I like the fact you said it's really of availability to small businesses because they don't have, necessarily like a structured training program like some of the larger companies might have. Career progression, I think, is important, and I feel like it's not really. I'm not going to say highlighted, but it's not a focus, I think, sometimes, and it could be whether it's you owning your own career progression or as a leader, kind of identifying people on your team and things like that. So I like that you're kind of, like you said, filling that gap and the mentorship piece. Can you talk a bit more about the mentorship piece as it relates to your Impart content?
Well, I always think about, like, I was very blessed with great mentors, things that were taught to me, like I was saying, ethics, morals, values, proper picking things up, paying attention to detail, multitasking. Those things I had great mentors for, but a lot of times too, there was big gaps where I had to self-teach myself a lot of things. And I feel like that's what it's tackling: how to do better time management, how to focus on details, how to make systems for your employees as well, so that you do have checklists. I know for myself personally, when I started working throughout the years, I created checklists and, call forms and all those things. It's like that has it all.
Awesome. Okay. I like that. I like that. That's really cool. So you're definitely addressing a need. The
Yeah, and
checklist,
uh,
yeah.
there is a whole, about career progression as well. Like, so if you have somebody who might just be a funeral arranger who wants to become a director, you have somebody who's fully licensed and wants to get into management, so that they have goals to reach.
Okay. What about soft skills? Does Impart help? Because I know, and again, I don't want to sound like an old person, like get off my grass person, but um, coming from a time when we did not have technology to now, you had to develop a lot of the soft skills that just were a matter of operating. And now that there's a lot more reliance on technology and things like that, do you think that Impart can help just with the soft skill piece that might be missing with some of the more younger entrants who have been accustomed to technology from the beginning of their lives, more or less?
Yeah, if I'm getting your question, if I'm hearing it, the way I think a lot of the younger folks would definitely benefit a lot from it. For example, those, like, some soft skills that I think about that maybe didn't translate throughout the years would be, like, let's say, social media or outreach, aftercare. Those types of things. It's explained how to do it, how to put paid advertising behind your ads, things like that. And I think younger generations who are so tech savvy would pick up on those courses very easy and understand the concepts very quickly, maybe beyond maybe an older generation, but that it's still built there for an older generation to learn how to do it, to understand maybe why your competitors' ads are running more than yours are, or how you can better connect with your community, how you can stay in touch afterwards. So those are evolving skills throughout years, and they keep changing. So I think it keeps it on target with what most businesses would do.
That's okay. So tell me when this idea just come to you, or how did it kind of like what's its origin story?
So Manifest is the like umbrella company, I would say. They have different verticals, as we call them. So they did for small businesses, so the small business platform. So they did one for hair salons. They had done one for veterinarian care, and then they were moving into the death care space. So education, advocacy for funeral service is the heart of, like, everything I do. So in talking with them and seeing that what they were doing, I was all in. So we focused on all the educational points. So I did a lot of there's a lot of content of me, kind of speaking like this, giving lessons, like classroom lessons. Um, I would, follow curriculums on how to do certain things in this small business. And they have other professionals as well that are, on finance parts, so things that accounting really isn't my strong suit per se. So they brought in experts for specifically for funeral businesses on accounting, on all these different aspects. And it's like a big community for the small business.
That's awesome. Now let me ask you, so now that you were there at the beginning and the creation of it, are you going to continue to be involved with the company in any capacity, or tell us
Yes,
about
absolutely.
where you'll be?
So we meet every week, so and have meetings every week. But I do coach for them, so we have a schedule. If you're a member of Impart, we do coaching sessions right now twice a week. So it's like kind of like a FaceTime. We get on a meeting, and people have questions. They want to go over things. They want to talk about their business, the issues they're facing, and we will talk them through, give ideas, so on and so forth with live coaching.
Okay, so you're going to
And
continue to be present for that.
yes, and we're still, as it's growing and stuff, thinking about where we can extend more education, where we can make more videos, get deeper into certain things, because it's a huge it's a huge business for a small business, especially in funeral service. As we say, we wear so many hats. So there's a lot that's entailed. And um, I think that for small businesses, like especially the funeral homes, one way that I look at it is that, a lot of funeral homes were passed on to families. We know this. They're generational, but we're funeral directors. And how well do you understand the entire concept of business, growing it, scaling it, maintaining your systems and operations inside? I have this conversation often with funeral directors is, everyone wants more business and you're looking for more business, but are you able to sustain more business? Can your employees sustain it? Are they going to burn out? Do you have access to get new employees? So these are all things that you should have your systems in place for. And a lot of us don't.
Yeah, that's true. And I think too, like we were talking about small businesses, it's their dollars don't stretch quite the same as like a large conglomerate. Their spending power and their ability to obtain things is a little different, I think. So
Yeah,
I think having that access, especially too, because like you mentioned, you can have a funeral home passed down to you, but you're not going to necessarily have the business acumen to run it. And I know when I was working previously with suppliers, and I would ask a funeral home about, they were talk to me about their pricing. And I said, well, what does it cost you to provide that service, like a cremation or whatever? And they didn't even know, right? So just little things like that, like understanding how much it actually like is costing you to provide that service, and utilizing that type of information as a basis for like pricing and things like that, which seems kind of basic in a business standpoint, but I think within our profession, because it is more of like lineage based ownership and things like that, it can be a little different, and not everyone even knows the questions to ask, right? So I think that having that ability to go in there and learn about things from the leadership vantage point for, like you said, sustainability, which is especially important, because I think some firms are not sure what to do with the cremation. I'm not going to call it a trend anymore. I mean, it's not a surprise, right, where things are going with disposition, but there's so much at the before the disposition is where the opportunity. This is just my opinion, where the opportunity lies.
of
And I
course.
think, yeah, being able to recognize those opportunities. And I feel like from what you're saying, Impart is going to be helpful in recognizing these opportunities and getting investment within your team, getting them to be feeling, like you're invested in them and their progress, which will in turn, benefit your client family. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, one of the things that you had mentioned, and it's one thing that I like about it too, is it is about your price structure. How much are you charging? You know, and I always find too, especially, being in the funeral home for so long, is that it's as funeral directors, it can be hard too with your own pricing. You know what I mean? Like you can struggle. You are in your own community. And having like something to look at and really understand what your numbers are and what's happening is so helpful.
And you can't
Like
argue with data, right? You can't argue with data. Sometimes it's funny because you'll be like, oh yeah, this is our best selling casket, someone might say. But then when you actually pull figures, you're like, actually, you pull reporting, it's like, it's actually this one. You know what I mean? Sometimes we think we know as funeral directors more about like what families want or what is the popular items that you offer in your merchandise. And then when you're able to actually look at it, right, and then you're like, oh, well, they actually like this over here. It's not always the primrose, right? So it's just
Yeah.
having that realization is really important. And I think too, especially now, because there's a lot going on economically, and I think to kind of stay abreast of all of these things that'll trickle down economically, with fuel and different things, it's important to have a good idea of a good grip of where you're at. So
Yeah, and with employees as well, if how well are your employees? How much is on your employees? If your employee leaves tomorrow, are you prepared? If you want to sell your business tomorrow, are you your business? Can your business run without you? So these are all, exiting. We have a lot of people. That's another big portion. I know the statistic keeps saying how many people plan to exit the business. They're going to be retiring and stuff. And how many of them are really prepared to know what they're going to do? You should be taking the years to be scaling it, making sure everything's good, making sure you're going all the right routes so that when you exit, it's a good exit and it's a clean exit, not only for you, but for your community.
hmm well, that makes sense. Now, do you ever link up people who are looking potentially at exit with newer entrants? Is there any way that people can connect that are kind of in those two positions within your structure? Like, do you have groups within Impart, or is it all individualized, or how does that work out?
So during the coaching sessions, people can come on. So there's definitely a community base that will be there as it's growing. It's just launched. So that's one aspect. As far as if there's going to be like more group things going on within it, I'm not positive if they're going to grow it that way. But right now, with the coaching and the community, that's going to be a main point.
Okay.
And
And
there's
then
going to
as
be other
far
coaches as well. It's not just me. There'll be plenty of them.
and roughly how often do you all kind of meet with Impart clients?
So it just launched right now. We have people on a free trial, so nobody has actually gone into coaching yet. And how far on the free trial they are, I'm not aware of at right now. And then we have a lot of people on a wait list that's going to be, going through and signing up. So there's a team for that, and I'm very grateful that there is. So, and I know that it's doing very well.
That's great. That is fantastic. So you have a free trial as of right now for folks if they want to check it out?
Yeah, there is. You can sign up right through their website. There's a free trial and you can check it out because there's so much to it. Um, and I was just telling the team, I was like, can we make like a minute long video like that just like spits out everything super fast because there's so much to it and there's so much exciting things to it. The education component to me is like probably my favorite part over everything. It's just that there's so much there, and I think about, I'm in a state where we have continuing education. You go to continuing education courses and they're great. Some of them are amazing, some of them not so much, as we know. And it's just like one part of information. You got like 2 hours worth of something, the lesson ends there, that is the lesson. Here it's like you can build on these lessons. It's really mind opening to me about a lot of things. Like it excites me so much because there's so much education. I can go and tell you like something about what you can do for your business and it's like, wow, yes, you can do that.
Now that is exciting. That's fantastic. And you have a good point about CE because, you have the I'm going to pay $10 and take this class for a check in the box type CE, and then you have the actual applicable I'm going to take this and apply it where I work. So it sounds like Impart has a lot of that actual useful information within the education sphere that you're going to use within work, which is exciting. And I think that that also would help with morale and potentially retention, right? Having
Absolutely.
access to that type of information for sure.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited for you that you started this. So what's next for you?
I don't know yet.
Besides continuing to do that and making fabulous videos.
Thank you. Well, I'm currently the president of the Nassau Suffolk Funeral Directors Association here on Long Island. I took that seat in July, so very on top of. I'm really into it. I'm very enthusiastic about it. I'm giving it a lot of my time because I want to. I enjoy it. I started, say we, it was a team effort, but we started a resilience and renewal, which is a mental health meetings So we have a group therapist that comes in, and we go to a group therapy place, licensed therapists, and have meetings, open group meetings with funeral directors, which has been fantastic. We recently got legislation put in New York, so that's been a huge, huge item on our list. They're proposing to split the licensure, enter a funeral arranger, split taking bomber out in New York. So that's been another main focus. So I've been busy. I always just keep with it. My biggest thing for me is just education and advocacy for the industry, and whatever comes my way.
Awesome. I did notice that you were talking about legislation over there. And so the idea of separating licensure, what are your thoughts about that, or what are your feelings about that?
Um, I personally oppose it. My association, together, we were like over 90% of our members oppose it. Personally, I'm very against it. I see a lot wrong with it. So hopefully our legislators and everyone listens and it doesn't go through,
Okay, I
personally.
know Georgia just was working on a bill because I talked about that a week or two ago, and kind of I went in there and kind of dissected it a little bit. And one of the alarming things, I guess, about that change, because I mean, there's good and bad depending on where you are and how you feel about it. But one of the things I thought was interesting is they weren't requiring embalmers to take the law test with the new change. And I was, because I actually went into the bill and dug into it, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, why would you? They still need to understand what your laws are, regardless of the individual tasks, right? If they're working under the umbrella of the funeral home and they're serving client families or other businesses, it just seemed odd to me they didn't have to take the law exam for that state.
It all
So,
seems, to me, it's all off from the beginning too. It just seems like this. I haven't seen a study where they've split licensures and it's helped the funeral industry or their area at all. If it helps consumers, I've never seen it do anything like that. I think that what they're trying to say is going to help this shortage of funeral directors isn't really, that's not the problem. We have a retention problem. I think most people feel that way. And entering a new type of licensure like this, it's going to be less pay for employees. You're going to see, New York is a much different state than a lot of states. Our cemetery and crematory law is so much stricter. They're all, their own entities. They're not for profits. Funeral homes do not operate through them. So our laws are just different in so many different ways. I think it's just going to be a real hurt to the having a funeral arranger role, and I think it's going to hurt it. And it's for society is like one of my biggest things. Just keep losing touch with humanity a little bit more.
yeah, and you talked about retention, which also when we're talking about Impart, that gap between going to school and getting in, because I can tell you as an educator, like people are coming. It's not that they're not trying to get into funeral service. And I know for a while it seemed like the board, everyone was blaming the board exam, right? Oh, it's the national board exam. Nobody can pass it. That's a problem. And again, people are coming into school and they're coming in excited. And then they go through all these hurdles of, completing classes, doing the hands-on, all of these things that are required of them. And then they get out there. And then within that 5 years, I guess, is the magic window where they're doing something else. So it's like, okay, like at some point we have to say, okay, maybe it's not you, maybe it is me. And like, look at
Yeah.
what's happening. And I don't know if it's expectation of, oh, you come out of school and you should know how to do all the things, because that's not accurate.
I usually say to my peers, my colleagues and stuff, I say, you're the first one, like, and it's okay. I think we're all guilty of it, but somebody asks you like, hey, I want to be a funeral director. What's one of the first things you say? You're not like, yeah, go for it. You usually say, are you sure? I know most people will
Mhm.
try to, was tried to get talked out of it by a million people. And you don't really know it until you kind of understand why. And I think that's a part of retention too.
Yeah, I think so too. That's a very good point. And I was surprised. I see a lot of that in social media groups where people are like disparaging others from entering the field, and it's like give them information, let them make up their own mind at the end of the day. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
like why would you want to run people off? Because
You
you're
just,
not
you know what?
going
It's
to have
so much
coworkers.
truth that it's hard to get it all out. You can't, how do you say it? It's just so much. I mean, for me personally, this is the greatest career I could have ever picked. I wouldn't change it. Do, I, you know, I love what I do, but I know why I got into it, and I think everyone's reasons should just be aligned.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like it's one of those careers that, I mean, like it becomes part of your personality in terms of you identify with that as a part of who you are. You know what I mean? So separating like who you are in your work, like if you were to do something different, like I don't know about you, but like the thought of not working in this field is like, oh my God, what would I do? Right. Even though there
It
are
gives me
other things
panic
you could
attacks.
do.
Like
Yeah.
if I have a bad day, and I think we all do sometimes, and I'm like, I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna go do something else or like whatever. And the moment I think about actually working like at a desk job or whatever it may be, I start to panic. Like, what do you mean it's not funeral service stuff? That's crazy.
It almost sounds like a foreign concept. Like, no, I'm sorry. Like I can't, my mind can't comprehend that. I'm sorry.
Right?
Yes. So you talked about resilience, which I'm really glad you mentioned, and I'm glad that there's some part of that within Impart because and I'm like your opinion on this. I feel like yes, we're talking about burnout a lot, and we're having conversations finally, kind of about mental health, but I feel like we're kind of addressing the foot end of it instead of rewinding to the head end of it, as far as how we can prepare ourselves and others to be sustainable and to take care of themselves and to just kind of process the things that we normalize as part of our job. And I feel like with technology, thankfully, you can connect with more people to do that. Whereas before, you were kind of on an island potentially. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that portion of Impart that you participated in creating that resilience piece.
So there's a bunch of materials on it with in videos of talking about, burnout, and a part of it too is like you said, it's battling it kind of before it comes, having your systems in place, being able to know when to take a moment for yourself, and also have the good systems, for like scheduling per se, you shouldn't be working 7 days a week. You shouldn't be, these are signs that could lead to burnout, making sure you have a schedule, things like that, that leadership should be pushing down. I'm so sorry that my light's in my eye. I'm sorry. And that's a big part of it too. I think that a lot of burnout, resilience comes over time, of course. But I think that burnout and stuff like that can be prevented with working systems, and also, having the know-with-all, knowing the signs and things like, being educated on it.
No, for sure. And I'm glad we're having these types of conversations now because I know I at one point we kind of weren't. But I liken it to being a marathon runner. If you say I want to run a marathon, right, then there's a training element involved in that. There's a preparation element involved in that. And if you just go and try to run it without any of that, you're going to hurt yourself or, something. But if you're trying to, a marathon is, a sustained effort. And so I look at our field as similar. Like you have to kind of prepare yourself and care for yourself. And some days of training will be harder than other days, but that idea of just awareness, I think, is really important.
That was a really good analogy. It is. It's like training for a marathon. It's like,
Yeah.
it's how you like start to learn how to carry it, and hold it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like too, it doesn't. I think there's this idea that maybe it gets easier in time, like the things we deal with, and maybe for whatever reason, I don't necessarily feel like it does. I think maybe we get better at how we manage it, but I think it's still difficult work. And I think no matter how long you've been doing it, if you're kind of tuned in to what you're doing and really actively engaged in it, then it is going to be kind of taxing.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't think, yeah, we
it's not
know.
like, oh yeah, this doesn't bother me, because you know how when you're working, you'll have maybe an intern or something like, oh my God, when does this stop being so hard, or when does this get easier? And it's like it kind of doesn't, right? Like it kind of is always going to feel kind of crappy when you're handing someone their baby or whatever it is. And it's just how you manage that crappiness is really kind of at the center of things, because it will continue to be kind of crappy. So,
Yeah, you never see it all. Every day is a new day, and like quite literally, you think you see it all, you haven't, and we know that. 20 years later, you haven't.
yeah. And because every person's so unique too. So every individual person is so unique in themselves that you get a fresh day. And that's one of the things I actually liked about our profession. What drew me to it was no 2 days are ever the same.
Mhm.
And there's always that you never know what you're going to get. Like the phone rings and your whole day changes. So I kind of like that.
It
That
taught me how to live my whole life differently. Like I always say, funeral directing is such a lifestyle. Like, because you don't know what your day is going to be. You don't like, plans. Like you just kind of learn how to like, I feel like live a little better, if that makes sense. It's hard to adjust to. Trust me, in the beginning, I would like be freaking out if I was on call. I'd have my phone in my hand, I'd be staring at it. You know, you learn how to live with the unexpected. You learn how to keep enjoying your time and know how to get up and go. And I like that, you know, it makes me feel more alive in some ways.
I think the fact that you just touched on being on call and still living life is so important. And I feel like sometimes when you're on call, you're just like, I can't go anywhere. I can't eat. I can't do anything. Or oh, I got to go to bed super early because I might get called or whatever it is. Right. So you're kind of tiptoeing around with your suit on the hanger waiting, and you're saying no to things that maybe you could say yes to if you threw the suit in the car and took your phone with you. You know what I mean? So I think
No, it is. It took me
it's a
like a
balance.
long time to figure it out. Like I can still go and play beach volleyball. I can have my clothes in the car. I can change in the funeral home bathroom, you know? I can have my phone on me. Now with like the Apple Watch, like it's okay. You can live.
Yes, no, that's a fantastic point because it took me a minute too. And then once you kind of figure that out and you just expect interruption or make peace with the fact that it's a possibility instead of getting like, oh, bitter about it, right? Because that interruption is someone else's loss. So it's like you have to kind of remind yourself that when that phone rings, someone else is at the other end just feeling gutted. So um
Yeah. That, and I've also realized I've made more on the part of going and doing and continuing living my life and doing things. Um, if I would have canceled all that, like that would have been more of a letdown than the times that I do have to get up and go, you know?
mhm, for sure. So tell people where they can find you and all the interesting things you're up to.
Oh, well, on a side note too, I wanted to mention with Impart, there's an AI aspect.
Yes.
So that aspect, a lot of people are very much like intrigued about or concerned about is another part.
Mhm.
It is like it's basically all the education, right, is there. It goes, you can also hook up to like QuickBooks and accounting and things like that. So you can ask your like own little, I'm trying to make this like really like your own like chat GPT, but it's like
Mhm.
for this, you know, how can I make a job listing, a job posting, if I want a qualified accountant for this, what should I be concentrating on with my funerals? Should I be with cremation calls? So that is supposed is trained in funeral home and business and can help give you real business insight to your business. And that's the part of AI. It's not a family facing product. You know, families aren't
Mhm.
going to be interacting with AI or anything like that. It is for the business use. Uh,
Okay.
and it's intelligent.
Now, does it have any type of like an HR function? So, like, if I'm a leader and I have to have a difficult conversation with an employee and I'm looking for advice or words to use or input that would help me with that conversation, is that something that type of AI could help with as well?
Yes.
That's awesome. And then that information, as far as the back and forth, the secure, like the conversations back and forth with the AI chatbot and everything.
Yes. As far as I'm concerned, they have a really great team.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then do you like if there's a red flag conversation, if somebody goes in there and what they're talking about is potentially something where a real human should speak with them or visit with them, does it give you any type of prompting?
That I don't know. From what I know, I don't believe so. I don't know. But I
Okay.
could certainly find out. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious about that. But yeah, the
I
AI element sounds really fascinating.
It is. It definitely is. I mean, like I said, I had the portion of the education part and stuff. So I know that it's getting trained up, but the actual like techie part of it, somebody else.
Nice. Well, thank you for bringing that up because I did want to talk about that, and I appreciate you reminding me. So I
Yeah.
get in the weeds of talking about exciting things, and we get enthusiastic, and then it's like, come back, come back.
I
So
know. You
thank you
talk
for
shop
that.
all day.
I know. So in closing, I guess, where can people find you?
All right. Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. That's my active one. I'm on Facebook. I go by Funeral Babe. I have a YouTube channel. Also Funeral Babe, and it's pretty much just Funeral Babe.
Okay, and you were featured in People magazine last year, right?
I was very
They,
exciting.
they did a great article on you. I was looking at that. It was fantastic. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
well, thank you for coming, for helping our listeners understand what Impart is and what it can do for them and your role in it. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the content that you put out to help people kind of see what it is we actually do.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I was really happy to be here.
All right. Well, thank you. This podcast is hosted, written, and edited by yours truly, Jennifer Lattes, and it is a Kates-Boylston production.